I'm recording this video with the Sony A7 V and the Lumix S5 Mark II. And if these two cameras could make a baby, I would totally adopt it. Hi friends, Dirk here. Thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video, we're going to take a look at both of these cameras and see in which category one outshines the other. You know, when I purchased the Sony A7 V, the goal was to have only one camera that can do it all. But now that I'm using it for about 5 months, I noticed in which categories the Sony is lacking and where the Lumix is actually still the better camera. And vice versa, of course. So I'll show you everything about that, and at the end of the video I'll also show you what I'm going to take with me on my trip, on my upcoming trip to Europe. So let's start right with the ergonomics. Well, I have to say, now that I'm using the Sony A7 V for 5 months, I got used to the bigger, bulkier feel of the camera body, but brutally honest, the Lumix S5 Mark II still has the better feel, the better grip. And when I made a blindfold test with my son, I gave him both cameras in the hand without telling him which one he was currently holding. He thought that the older Lumix S5 Mark II had the better feel, the better grip. So point for the Lumix. Both cameras support dual SD card slots, but the Sony has the advantage of offering an additional CF Express Type A card slot. I don't use it because these type of cards are not only faster, they're also way more expensive. So for me, it's not that important. But if you want to utilize this type of cards, then it's a point for the Sony. The viewfinder on the Lumix S5 II has been always a delight. With 3.68 million dots, it was very bright, very crisp, very clear. And I was very surprised to see that the Sony, the 3-year newer camera, has only 6,400 dots more than the older Lumix. It's still a good, visible and nice and crisp and clear viewfinder. However, what I really dislike on the Sony is that as soon as you rotate the display, even the slightest, the viewfinder stays black. On the contrary, on the Lumix, you can tilt and angle the display however you like. And if you want to verify something, you just quickly look through it and you can always see what you're filming or what you're photographing. So this is a big disadvantage and inconvenience from the Sony, so point for the Lumix. One of my subscribers thought that I would be standing in front of a green screen and this would be totally AI. Now you can see that it's actually real. I never had complaints about the Lumix display with its 1.84 million dots. It always worked great for me. The Sony display has roughly 2.1 million dots, but what's special about it is that, other than me with my German grammar, the display is fully articulating. So what I mean by that is you can really tilt it and flip it around the way you want it and put it in every position and angle that suits your shooting style. That's of course a plus for the Sony. Another point that's important for creators is the Lumix S5 Mark II has so many buttons. Customizable buttons as well as preset buttons. So, no matter what settings you want to change, it is so easily to just press and change it without even thinking about it. And the good thing is they transition those kind of buttons to all of their camera bodies. Even the Micro Four Thirds have pretty much the same layout. So it's one beautiful thought-through ecosystem. The Sony, my God, if you want to set something, most of the time you have to crawl through menus and submenus to find your settings. I want to give you an example. To set the focus point from single shot to continuous autofocus, it is the switch of this little dial here on the back of the Lumix S5 Mark II. With the Sony, it was so difficult to find. And in fact, I had to learn the hard way that first you need to change the drive mode from single shooting to continuous shooting before this actually appears in the menu. I think it's a bit too complicated, so the ease of use point goes definitely to the Lumix S5 Mark II. When I bought the Sony A7 V, I knew it doesn't support open gate shooting. And I thought I would be okay with 4K 30 FPS. And most of the times I am. But when it comes to detailed video work, product shots, and I feel leaning towards the Lumix S5 Mark II more and more often Because this 6K 30 FPS, this open gate gives you so many more creative opportunities to zoom into your footage, to reframe your footage that easily. And I like this a lot. So honestly, now that I have the Sony A7 V for about 5 months, I have to say I miss open gate and I miss the 6K 30 FPS. When it comes to image quality, I actually can't assign a point for either of those cameras. In terms of color science and dynamic range, both cameras are fantastic. The dynamic range is roughly the same, and although the colors are a bit different, I don't have a preference. Both are wonderful. So, 0 points. Who would have thought that the victory for the stabilization contest goes to the 3-year-older camera, the Lumix S5 II. Here you can see me doing this with Shane, my, by the way, favorite YouTuber from Australia, and I would highly recommend for everyone to check out his channel, Geeky Nerdy Techie. So yes, doing these tests, definitely the Lumix looks like being on a gimbal while filming handheld, and even in the best stabilization mode, the Sony A7 V is still a little bit jittery. Very surprised about it, and definitely a little bit disappointed about it as well. Point for the Lumix. When I'm traveling or for street photography, I don't use subject recognition a lot. The way I photograph is to focus with a flexible focus point, then half press the shutter button and reframe my shot until it's perfect, and then actuate it, and then really take the picture. When I tried to do this with the Lumix, and I tried to do it with different models, S1R2, S5 II, you name it, these flexible focus points are all over the place when you're trying to reframe your shot. But with the Sony, it sticks to where you want it, and your subject is really sharp, no matter if you reframe your shot or if you actuate it right away. So this is what I love about the Sony, and that was so crucial to me. When it comes to connectivity, this is not a strong suit of the Lumix. I use the mobile app on an Android tablet, and sometimes it connects and sometimes it doesn't. When I want to use the Lumix as a webcam, well, first of all, it requires for you to download a special Lumix webcam software, which is annoying. And sometimes it connects to your computer, but as soon as you have a Windows 11 update, then you have to start all over. Or sometimes, even without an update, it wouldn't connect. The Sony, on the other hand, is plug and play. You simply put a USB-C cable in your computer and in your camera, and you can see the image. And that's fantastic, and it doesn't require for you to download any other additional software. The Creator app works 90% of the time instantly. I use it on my iPhone, and normally it connects right away. Sometimes it requires for me to restart the camera or the phone, but most of the time it connects instantly. Again, big plus for the Sony. One thing that always concerned me about the Lumix S5 II is, as soon as you remove your lens, the sensor was exposed to dust and dirt. And when you have to change lenses out and about, if you ever needed to clean your sensor, you know what I'm talking about. It's definitely a concern. The Sony, on the other hand, comes with a sensor protection, and that gives me a peace of mind. I still am careful when I'm changing lenses, when I'm out and about, but at least it's not as stressful as when I'm doing it on the Lumix. When it comes to battery life, the Lumix S5 II is so much better than the newer Lumix cameras, and still it pales in comparison to the Sony. For example, in this video session, the Lumix S5 II is on its last bar, while the Sony A7 V has still 58% battery life left. When it comes to overheating, I never had a problem with the Lumix S5 II. It has active cooling, and I'm here in Florida. It's really hot outside, and still it never shut down on me, no matter how long I was recording 6K 30 FPS. And it performs so much better than the newer Lumix cameras, even with the firmware update. Still, the performance of the Lumix S5 II, S5 II X is untouched. The Sony, on the other hand, doesn't have active cooling, and yet it never failed me. I'm able to record with the Sony in Florida for as long as I want, 4K 30 FPS, and it never shut down on me, it never overheated. Big plus. I'm very surprised, pleasantly surprised from the Sony, but since both cameras perform so well here outdoors in the Florida heat, no point. 5 points for the Lumix and 6 points for the Sony. Did I make the right decision to buy a new camera, the Sony A7 V? I would say for now, definitely yes. It gives me so much that I want in a camera, and if I need features that the Sony doesn't provide, I still have my Lumix as a backup. But was it the last camera that I'll ever buy? Likely not. I had no idea how much I was missing 6K 30 FPS open gate shooting. So if a new Sony comes out that offers open gate, at least 6K 30 FPS, and has a much better stabilization that is at least on par with the Lumix S5 Mark II, then this will be the camera I purchase, and likely the last one. So now, what will I take on my trip to Europe? Well, first of all, of course, the Sony A7 V, right? For this trip, I purchased the Tamron 25 to 200 mm. And no, again, not sponsored. In fact, Tamron is still not talking to me. I reached out to them so many times and they ignore all my collaboration requests. They don't even give me the courtesy of a response. Still, Tamron has good products and that's more important than my ego. What else? So I'll take the Comica wireless microphone set with me. Although it's a bit more on the heavier and bulkier side, I like the 32-bit float and the overall sound quality coming from this microphone set. I'll be taking with me the Manfrotto B-Free travel tripod, the aluminum edition. My long-term friend, this KF Concept backpack. And again, none of these products are sponsored. I bought all of them with my money because I really like them. I got the offer from Brighton Star to test their 35mm f1.8 and also from Sirui to test their new cine lens 75mm t1.4, but none of the lenses have arrived yet and I'm not sure if they will be here in time. If so, I'll definitely take them with me to test them and to tell you all about them. And that concludes my video for today. Thanks so much for watching. Till the next time, stay safe, stay tuned and take care. Bye for now.